This is the journey to one Africa. Africa needs its own partnership. Exactly. You can't keep jumping into one relationship to another relationship. Actually, I'll tell you this. Brics is very dangerous. Let me just say that. We don't see it right now, but we'll see it later. Because the countries that we're operating with, look at China. How many military bases they have in Africa right now. Look at the influence of China in the country. And they know it. China, Russia, they know it. If they want to go against US, they need to increase their influence in the continent. They don't. Let me tell you this, man. You can say that they don't interfere our, politics. You can say whatever that you want to say, but I'm telling you, I don't trust nobody. When it comes to Africa, I don't even trust Africans because you're selling each other, killing each other. Should I trust somebody else? But I know it is necessary for me to put aside my personal feelings and to work towards a unit of Africa in our continent, and that's what Africa should do before anything else. That is the priority. That should be the main topic. Not Brics as the main topic. No, we're just promoting other things. So Africa's unity should be the main topic. But Jacqueline says, always looking for a savior when we have the power to save ourselves. 1000% I agree with you. We have all the power. We have all the ability. We have everything it takes. Let me say this. I say this all the time. The difference between where we are and where we should be is decision. Our organizations, our leader haven't been making decision to pursue Africa's unity. It's something to make decision and to be done. Like that. We deal with other things later. What is important right now, it's unity of Africa. That's what is important. To have one say. To have one say. I'm telling you this. If we have a unit of Africa, let's say, maybe they'll say, okay, we're not going to allow a military regime taking over the government, in our continent. If that is the statement, then what should be done in order to prevent that from happening? You cannot say that is the statement, and you have a leader who is a puppet, leader who is not working for people, leader who is selling the country, and yet you want military to just stay there. They're the one who dying all the time when they're fighting for the countries. They're all the time they're front line to fight for the countries. These guys are patriot. So if you say one statement, you should have actions, not just a statement. That's a strategy Africa can have when we are one, when we're united. You cannot just say you cannot intervene and you don't even know the single thing that is happening in our countries. You don't even know. You're ECOWAS, you sit there, you say, man, you're just dividing. So I say this before, that, man, what is being done right now to Africa is divide and rule. And sadly, we're divided not because of friends, but we're divided because of our own organizations. How sad is that? Who to blame there? Who to blame? The other day we were talking here, and someone said that ECOWAS, what they're saying, they will never go and fight Niger. They'll never go. They just say that so that they may calm things down from France and US. Even doing that, it's the sign of weakness. It's a weakness if you need to do something to please imperialist, please somebody who wants to overtaking you. Anyways, my brother is here. My brother Niger, take a stage, my brother.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Man, I thank God, man. It's another beautiful day. We're doing well, and we
awesome. I'd like to hear that,
man.
I'm doing great. So I want us to dialogue because I agree with you with Brics, and to an extent, I want to challenge you.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first question, so I can understand your understanding before I start, is Brics currency. Are you aware that it's not going to be used by people like you and me? And it's only going to be used for trade from one country to another. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand.
And you still don't want it?
So my argument on this, just to clarify, is about it's about priorities. And what I mean is this: that yes, if you want to have Bric currency, you can have it. If you want to have whatever, because that currency is not just going to be used to trade, maybe, outside between, Africa and, Europe, or Africa and, China, but it'll be used even here in the continent as well. My argument is that why before doing that, before putting our energy, our resources, and before like right now we know Ethiopia and Egypt as well, they joined BRICS. That means they're part of that as well. Before doing that with someone else, why don't we organize ourselves, do our thing first? That means we will need to trade among each other with our own currencies. First of all, African currencies. Then we can do that with with BRICS, because when you go to China, they have their own money, which is pretty strong, and they're trading with their own money in whatever they do, right? So why us not focusing on doing that first, focusing on what it could be the long solution for Africa, instead of doing putting our energy and our focus on something else and leaving us working on what we're doing right now? Because that's what I feel like, no, that's what I see happening right now, that a lot of countries, they are moving their focus as if they're saying that, nothing is happening with African Union, with the Union of Africa, so let's find another institution that will be there for us and with us. And that is BRIC. This is what we have to do, right? So that is my argument. My argument is not that this should never come. That's, we should have all this relationship as much as we can, as long as we are working on ourselves and doing our things. We're putting ourselves first and working on our stuff. That is my argument.
I love that. So now I understand. So, as you know, every time Africa tries to liberate itself, there's a force that stops it. And that force is not, strong. I call it stronghold. That force does that. They're not dormant. They're not sleeping. They're always active. So in the behind the scenes. So let me explain. AU, which we are all loving, is not liberated. They have foreign powers that have their hands in their affairs. So they have people that give them money, and whoever gives you money can tell you what to do. ECOWAS, same thing. They have external powers, foreign countries, and these countries, we know them. So EU as a bloc, UK, because they're now out of EU, so UK as a country, and the US. All these countries give money to ECOWAS, and they all give money to AU. Number two, whenever we get a leader that is on the page as you and I, that wants to liberate Africa, they either get killed by assassination, or they get they set up a coup against them, so they get out of power, right? So we've been doing this for decades now, since we got our independence. Probably we can say centuries, because we had freedom fighters during the colonial era and during the slave era that wanted us to become free from slavery and colonialism. So we can even say centuries. But these powers have been holding us down all that time. And the only difference is that every 2 decades or so, they come up with a new strategy, a new name. They change the way they act. So it went from slavery, now it's neo-colonialism. So they don't look like they're doing it, but they're still doing it. They're still controlling us. So look at Haiti, for example. Why do you think people in Haiti are revolting? Why do you think people in Niger are revolting? Why do you think you and I are revolting? That we want something different? And we didn't start with you and I, or people in Haiti, or people in Niger, and everywhere else in Africa that are still trying to liberate themselves. This has been going on since Kwame Nkrumah and all the other leaders that came after him or before him. So what I'm trying to tell you is that even though you want to see the one Africa, one African currency, we need to continue to push that agenda 100%. But that stronghold that is holding us down is not afraid of us, because they already know how to manipulate us. They already know how to blackmail us. They already know how to get some of our leaders to become their puppets through blackmail and other tactics. So for us to break free, if you look at the United States and NATO, right, they're building alliances, partnerships, friendships, relationships. But in politics, they call it alliance, right? Africa also needs its own alliance that will not exploit them the same way the West have been exploiting us. And for us to do that, we need to look where people have not exploited us, one, and also where people have been exploited in the past, but they found a way to liberate themselves. So they understand where we are, i.e. India were once colonized. China were once colonized for 100 years, 1 century, 100 years. Ours went on for 400 years. But for 100 years, they got colonized by the same people that we are trying to liberate ourselves from. UK, British, because there was no United States then. UK was in India. UK was in China. They made Chinese people become opium addicts. Research this, opium addicts. And China fell for 100 years. And China calls this 100 years of humiliation. That's what they call it, 100 years of humiliation. But they found a way to get themselves back. So, if you look at China compared to what the West for decades have been doing in Africa. So China have only been in Africa for X amount of decades, right? X amount of decades. But look at the work they have done in Africa compared to what the West have done for us, right? And this is partnership. This is not charity. This is partnership. They've built infrastructures, right? Infrastructures. Can you hear me?
Night. Yeah, I can hear you. But think about the debt that Africa has to pay China. I think we'll pay for the entire generation.
Okay, let me explain that. So we're talking about one currency, right? Do you know that if a country like Tanzania, Nigeria, if a country spends more money on outside the country to buy stuff, do you know that makes your currency weaker?
Oh yeah, I know that.
So if a country spends more than it produces, it makes your country weaker in terms of economics, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we are needing to use dollar to buy goods overseas, which is why Brics is coming into the picture, if we're having to exchange money to dollar, so by doing that exchange, we're making dollar stronger because we're buying dollar. So every time we buy dollar, we make it stronger. And every time we use it to trade, we make our currency weaker. So imagine if we had, like you say, and like I say, one African currency, we can then stop using dollar to trade all over the world, right? We can start using one African currency to trade all within Africa. Because within Africa, we don't even trade among ourselves because of the difficulties and logistics and the geopolitics and the politics involved. So imagine if we start trading amongst ourselves and reduce the amount of trades we do outside of Africa. Imagine how strong our currency will be, right? One. And then couple that, what I just said, with Brics currency. So imagine if we did that in Africa with our own currency, and then with Brics, we are using Brics currency, which if we use it to trade with a Brics member, we will not affect our currency. Are you with me?
Yes.
And then our countries will become stronger. Now, I know you just told me about the debt with China. But I challenge you to do your research, because this, I believe what you're telling me is what the media have been saying. So I want to challenge you to do your research and compare the debt Africa owes China and the debts Africa owes the West. Compare the two, and you'll be shocked to see that Africa owes more debts to the West than it does to China. I can guarantee you that, because I've done my own research.
Yeah, I believe it's a matter of time, because the amount of money that Africa right now is receiving from China, it's crazy, and I think that is what is freaking Western out as well. To see that Africa has found another hero or another sugar daddy, you know what I'm saying, to get things from. And this, I'm saying this very sadly to say this, because for me, I believe, my brother, that if Africa can do what we are suggesting, what I know you and a lot of people that are suggesting about the unity and everything, if Africa can focus on that, we're not going to have we're not going to be doing the same things we're doing today, and especially when it comes to borrowing. I might say that it might not.
I agree. No, you're 100% right. You're 100%. Like I told you in my previous calls, we're supposed to be the lenders, not the borrowers. I've told you that. Exactly. But I have to tell you, but I have to remind you that there's a stronghold stopping us. And if we don't break away from that stronghold, we will never be liberated. You have to see the stronghold. The stronghold is invisible. It's a spiritual warfare. It's there. It has it. So let me tell you what the stronghold is doing to us.
Because I haven't finished first, Niger.
Okay, go ahead.
What I was about to say, what I really hate is the attitude that most of Africans have, especially towards institutions like Brics right now, right? The attitude that, this is the new thing that will save us. This is, it's where we're going to run to receive our help. This is, it's like as if we're choosing Brics is there and we are going to them because we are angry with the Westerners. And this is very wrong attitude, and it's not going to do anything to us, because it's basically us giving them power. Like, basically we're empowering Brics right now so much, that these guys, they have nowhere to run to, they're running to us. And we all know that when Brics started, Africa was not there. Africa was invited later on, but it was not there with all these other nations. They have their own agenda, the things that they plan, everything. So that attitude of seeing, you're saying something very, very, very true here, and very right, that we need all this partnership. And I agree with that we really need this partnership. But the attitude of partnership that we have, Africa, it's very different. And that's because we've been traumatized for so long time. And unless we're going to come back to Africa to look at each other and be like, guys, all right, we messed up for so long time, but we can do it. If you have Sankara in the continent, not only in one country, because that's what we have in Africa. Like, you have one good leader in that country, and that leader will be killed. All right, and then you'll have another one there. But we don't have collective agenda. We don't have the vision and the target as one people that we can face. I believe if Africa awaken and do that, all of us together, nobody is going to kill Africa.
But that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Africa wants to do that. There are leaders. The other Nigerian that was just on the call, Uchechukwu, was telling you that the president that is in Nigeria right now shouldn't be the president of Nigeria.
Yeah.
The person that is supposed to be the president of Nigeria right now should have the spirit of Sankara, not the spirit Tinubu has. So I'm telling you, there's a stronghold that is stopping Africa from making progress, because they keep putting the wrong people in power to further their agenda. So I understand where you're coming from. So, but my point, I don't have the same mindset as the people that you're talking about, where they see Brics and they say we have to run to Brics and then Brics is going to make us better. That's not what I see. I see alliance, right? And when I say alliance, it's like It's like taking one stick, right? And I give it to you, and I say, break this stick for me. And you break it, right? And I give you 10 sticks, the same sticks, 10. I put them in a bundle, and I give it to you, and I tell you to break this stick. And you try, and you're not going to be able to break it because it's now a bunch of sticks stacked together, and they're stronger together. So remember I said India has gone through this same thing we're going through, and they liberated themselves. China has gone through the same thing we're going through, and this is how I see it. This is my own point of view.
What did China did to get out of
China was colonized, right? And then their leader formed, like you are saying, formed a one-party policy, which in Africa will become one country instead of one continent. One country, one president, and then fix the whole continent, right? China is big, 1 billion people, right? So that one leader controlling one country had the spirit of Sankara. That one leader. And then he started fixing all the problems China had. And guess what? The West fought tooth and nail and called him an autocrat, a dictator. Look at China today.
And they're failing. They're failing against China.
I know. But if Africa does the same thing, they will call us the same thing. And do you know why they win in Africa? Because we're divided and we're weak. Right?
1000%.
A country is respected when they have advanced weaponry, nuclear, and all these things. Africa doesn't have nothing. Zero. So what China did is that they changed their policy. So instead of democracy, right, they implemented socialism, which is where a country, like you're saying that we should do it. Just think about this. This is what you're saying. The government itself builds industries, and then that industry makes the economy and provides jobs, right? And then the people in the country get rich and get wealthy, and they become good. So in China, they themselves, the country, they have state-owned industry, meaning the country owns it. Africa, in Africa, they call this trying to nationalize your natural resources. Every time we have tried, any leader of us that have tried to nationalize our natural resources, meaning build an industry, build a factory that will add value to our natural resources, they get assassinated and they get killed. So what I'm trying to tell, this is my perspective, and people can disagree. This is my perspective.
Yeah.
If we align ourselves with people like Brics, it will start reducing the stronghold that the West have on Africa. Why? Because every time we try to do something they don't like, they sanction us, right? They sanction us, and then we have to fold. Look at Uganda today. Uganda is in the beginning of its sanctions. It's gonna get worse. It's in the beginning. World Bank has withdrawn, right? EU, I think there's something that happened with EU recently, and they withdrew something that is big for Uganda. And it's gonna keep happening worse and worse and worse. Why? Because we don't have that other alliance to trade. I'm not talking about political alliance. I'm talking about, so every country in the world has to do business with countries in the world. Are you in agreement with that?
No, I want to challenge you something before that. Are you allowing me to challenge you?
Yeah, I'm keeping quiet.
All right. So my challenge is this. I think one of the reasons why America, USA, is very against China and all this name and everything is because they see China as a threat to their economy. They see China as a superpower that is going to take over, basically it's already taken over the position that has been holding for so long time. I see the same thing with Brics. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because if Africa, we are awakened. If Africa, we are one, China knows exactly where Africa would be in a couple of years from now, because they have been through the same thing. They came from poverty, and look at where they are today. If Africa take the same journey, and we are in partnership with what we call Brics, how sure you are that they're not going to sabotage us in order, because they will see us as a threat to what we are trying to pursue. And this is one of the concern that I still have all the time, that and I know we agree in this, but I'm raising this up for the case of people who are watching and people who will be watching this, that this could be, yes, it might be good for us today, in 10 years, in 20 years, but it's not as sustainable. It's not something to put our hopes in, because the same agenda that Western country has, China has, and this country has. They just do it in a different way, but all of them, they have the same agenda. And I think that's why Africa is very important for Brics to come in there. They had to put us there. They had to invite South Africa. Right now, other countries are applying as well. It's very important because of what Africa has.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. It's not sustainable. It's not something we can do for a long term, which is where I was heading to. So let me ask you this. Do you know that Soviet Union and America were almost equal? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know that Soviet Union chose not to colonize or enslave Africa?
Yes, I know that.
So why are we afraid that they are telling us that they see what's going on here? Why do we think they're going to treat us, they're going to wake up and treat us the same way the imperialists? Because these countries are not imperialists. If you look at them, they are not. China, this is China. When China talks about developing countries, they say, we don't want to change your policy. We don't want to change the way you handle your internal affairs. We just want to create a win-win situation for you and I. And if it works, let's do it. Right? They don't come and say, for us to do business with you, you have to change your policy. You have to change the way you do business. You have to change the way you govern your people before we do business. So I personally believe that it could go either way. It could go the way you're saying, where we start becoming powerful and they try to stop our power. I believe that. I also believe that they truly want a world where everybody is living good. I truly believe that. And before Africa can become the next, before it takes almost 200 and something years for an empire to rise, right? 200 to 300 years for an empire to rise. So me and you are talking about a lifetime where you and I are not going to be alive. Because right now, me and you acknowledge that US is going down and China is rising up. So it looks like China is the next empire in the world. So before the next one after that will come, will take almost 3 centuries, almost 300 years for the next one to come. So in the meantime, we have to start aligning ourselves with other powers that will help us reduce the stronghold on the bad girlfriend that we currently have. And at the same time, this is the mistake I think everybody's making. Everybody's thinking or. Why can't we have and? Because right now our leaders are not doing what they're supposed to do. So why can't we have Brics and work on also one Africa at the same time? And these two things together will help us to reduce the stronghold that the West have on Africa, while we Africans empower ourselves and raise ourselves up. Because like I told in the previous call, me and you, our generation and the generations to come after us are going to be the leaders that I believe that will liberate Africa, not these current puppets in power right now. So in the meantime, we have these powers right now trying to lend us their hand to help us liberate and raise ourselves up, while we have these other people that want to dominate the same way we've been doing business, the same way they've been doing business in Niger, the same way they've been doing business in Nigeria, the same way they've been doing business in Sudan, DRC. We have to check when this is what's helpful for Africa. When you have an alternative source to do business, it makes you, the person in the middle, more powerful, because now the West can't say this is what you must do for us to do business with you. If they tell you that, you can go back and tell them, look, these other people over here are willing to do this for me. So if you're not willing to do business with me this way, I'm going to go to these other people. So that gives you negotiating powers versus only having one single source only. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I truly understand. But also I believe that it also makes you the weak person. Because I'm saying that because if you are the middle, of course, it might make you the most powerful, but also the most weakest person. Because if anything goes wrong with the current partnership or relationship you have, it's going to make it difficult for you to go back to where you used to be, maybe because of sanctions and whatever. And it's going to make it's going to be difficult for you to do anything with the current relationship you have. What if they put sanction on you because you did not agree on something?